Alright guys, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly step by step on how we scaled an offer from zero all the way to $130,000 per month in 30 days, along with our sales manager errors. So I'm going to give the whole entire breakdown like I mentioned, all the way from the launch to how we actually positioned the offer, restructured it, etc. So stay to the end. Whether you're an offer owner, growth operator, you're going to find a ton of value from this video. All right, so if we just look at the overall numbers, as you can see, $180,000 cash collected. We had 227 calls booked, 133 showed up, so about a 58% show rate. And then we had a, pretty sure it's like a 55% close rate as well. Not too sure if which one's accurate here. So what we're gonna dive into first is the main bottlenecks the client had before working with us. So we started working with this client in late October. Like I think it's like the last week of October. So prior to that, this is actually supposed to say November, but I'm sorry, not November. This is supposed to say October. So he did zero cash collected in October, like absolutely nothing, and it's pretty shocking because he has like a pretty decent audience. But essentially, so these were the main bottlenecks. So he had a straight to high ticket with no lead capture. So essentially that just means when somebody comes from like his YouTube or something like that, or maybe like his Discord server, they would just click straight to high ticket and like there's no lead capture. So essentially that just means anybody could just click on it and decide not to book a call, then they're off in the wind, like you don't have any of their information. So another thing was the application type form had a ton of friction, right? So for example, like the first question that was asked was, it's like, this is an investment of $3,500, like can you do that, yes or no, just something like that. Just a lot of friction, a lot of sales resistance, just like turning people the other way just from the type form alone. And then another thing was the previous mentorship was lifetime, so he had a bunch of like entitled people in there. So I'm talking about like the mentorship he ran previously. They had people in there for 12 months, like 8 months, 6 months, right, just rotting in there, and still thinking that like I guess it's on him because he made a lifetime. But essentially the issue with that is just it's just too much to fulfill. People start getting entitled, etc. So that was a big issue he had as well. Then he had no CRM at all, no sales reps, no type of DM setting process like from his Instagram, because he does have a decent following on Instagram. He had no type of DM setting process, inconsistency with content, so he wasn't really as consistent with the content, as well as just bad fulfillment on the back end, right? So he just like wasn't really taking it serious at that time, I guess. But yeah, it just wasn't really good fulfillment. Wasn't really there, like doing the coaching calls like was promised, etc. And so he had no pre-booking process, post-call processes, absolutely no financing options. So it was just like a bit of a mess when we first stepped in. And so what we implemented for him starting October 24th, so there's the exact date for you guys. But yeah, so we started off with a 2-week launch and we set it for November 4th. It actually might have been early. We actually might have been working with him on the 20th, just based off this right here. But yeah, so we knew we just had to scratch this whole entire thing, right? Like he has people that are mad at him in his previous mentorship, people in he had like a Discord as well, and then like people who were in premium were like feeling like he's giving too much like attention to the private mentorship. So we just had to scratch the whole thing there, which we'll get into shortly on how we kind of revamped the offer. Next was we transcribed all the previous sales calls that he did to create marketing material for his ideal client profile. So we made things like the buyer brain matrix, which I'll show you here. So this right here is just from transcribed sales calls as well as a specific prompt. So we get their age, their role, the industry that they're in, the level of awareness typically about solutions when they jumped on the call, the key characteristics, the pain points, like the frustrations that they continue to bring up. So that helps us on the marketing end. And then just the common objections as well, right? So like I mentioned, we transcribed the call. So this is kind of, it's not just this page, it's a whole page with just like most of the objections that they get. So, fear of wasting money again, fear that mentorship's overpromise, all that good stuff, like the trust barriers, the risk factors, etc. So yeah, like I mentioned, we did a current program and offer revamp. Yeah, and so just based off what we saw from like the sales calls as well as the objections that he was getting, we put in place an opt-in page to capture leads who do not apply. So this is on his Instagram, because we have a more consistent on like Reels as well as TikTok, just a lot of short form content, as well as YouTube as well. So we put in place an opt-in page, like opt-in before the actual high ticket funnel, just so we could capture their information, so we can have setters reach out to them, send them marketing material, get them in sequences, etc. And we put in place a high converting high ticket funnel, because like I mentioned, like what he had in place was just not good, right? It triggered a lot of resistance. It didn't really look appealing. So we put in place a high converting high ticket funnel for him. We put in place a pre-call page to pre-handle those objections that he was getting based off the sales call transcripts, like I mentioned, like the buyer brain matrix and the most common objection. So we made a whole pre-call page just pre-handling those. That way they're more framed before they get onto the sales call. So we did pre-call process. We implemented pre-call process, post-call processes to get leads framed, ready to buy, whether that's like, email material, specific case studies, etc. A whole outbound setting process, right? Because there was a lot of money being left on the table. Whole closing process, obviously, marketing email sequences, no-show sequences, opt-in sequences, and a consistent content plan. So we got them with one of our guys that we know that are really good with content. So we're having them do 2 YouTube videos a week and then 2 short form pieces of content a day, whether that's like TikTok or Instagram. But yeah, so before we get into the actual funnel and whatnot, we're going to break down the relaunch process to collect 70K in 1 week. Because, I mean, keep in mind, guys, like he already had an existing program. It just wasn't doing any cash because it wasn't appealing to people at all. Like people knew about it that knew him. It just, it wasn't really, they weren't really sold on it, right? Like I mentioned, there was a lot of friction in the whole entire funnel, etc. So we looked into the current program, right? We revamped it. We saw that he was giving, too much of himself to people, right? Meaning like, he was offering like one-on-ones, like people just had too much access to him, which, caused issues on the back end. So we looked into that. We made sure that we dialed the deliverables in. We make sure that it's a 90-day program. That way, we can keep everybody, we get results for everybody, and they're not just like sitting there the whole time. So we made it a 90-day program, with specific like, guarantees, etc. And then, so it's framed as something new for his existing audience, like I mentioned. So we called it like, so he had his private mentorship, and then we renamed it like something else as like, sounds like completely new, just to get, the people involved and whatnot. So we created a waitlist for the new offer. And so people who joined the waitlist, like we promoted it on Instagram, he had a Discord server, and then we promoted it on YouTube as well. And then, so essentially once they join the waitlist, they would get redirected to a private VSL, just hyping up the program. And there was an invite for them as well to join like a whole private Discord, right? So the main goal was just to build a lot of hype around the actual launch itself. And so we would have him send voice notes daily to that specific Discord group, dropping sauce, dropping trading tips, etc., just to get people like primed, get people ready to go for the actual launch. And create like a bit of a herd theory as well, because just like there's other people commenting in there, other people, saying certain things just like in the actual chat itself. And then we had 4 to 5 weekly emails just building value and hyping up the launch. So we were set to launch on the 4th, which is a Tuesday. And prior to that, we sent out like an early bird offer on Sunday just to get calls before then. And that, like, we booked a ton of calls from that. Like, we booked a ton of calls. And essentially what the early bird offer was it was just like the normal pricing we were going to charge anyway. We just made it anchored. So like, because they're getting in, like, instead of it being X, it's actually X, but we just anchored the price. But in reality, it was the same price. It was just the same price we're going to charge anyway. So we instantly booked like a ton of calls from this. Like the first 3 days were just packed out with our closer was just packed out with calls. We had like the setters calling to confirm people. So yeah, we collected like a lot of cash just that first 3 days. I think on Tuesday, actually, we had like a 35K day, like the time we were actually set to launch. And so with that being said, like, because we had such a positive response with like the early bird offer, what we did is we pushed it back to the 10th, right? So how we kind of framed it was, it's like, a bunch of people were, coming in trying to get the early bird offer. So what we're going to do is we're going to push the launch back. So we're going to allow more people to be able to get an opportunity to get like the early bird offer. And essentially what that did, like, is just it created more urgency for them to actually like book a call. Just like for the people that were specifically on the wait list. So it created some urgency for them to actually book a call. So because of that strategy that we ran, we collected 70K in the first 7 days and these were just manual bookings at first. Now, let me show you guys something, because at that time, as you can see, this is the type form for the wait list. October 24th to November 4th, we only had about 358 submissions. Okay, so I think that's very, very good numbers. Like we managed to, like, that's way above average. If you just like, just like the standard numbers of info, if you factor in like the close rate, the people that are actually going to, book in from the wait list, etc. I feel like we for sure exceeded our expectations with that. Like we managed to collect 70K cash collected just from 358 people on the wait list, and these were just manual bookings too. It wasn't like we didn't let the setters like call them up yet. So yeah, I thought we did pretty well that first week with just the manual bookings. And so after that, like once we actually launched, we let the setters just rip the actual wait list, and then get outbound sets, and then yeah, same thing. And so here's, I forgot to mention this, here is the VSL on like what it actually looked like. So as you can see here, we had 649 people view it. And like here we have like the wait list and him just, talking about specific things there. And so just to keep in mind, guys, like even with the offer revamp, we've had literally no refunds up to this point. Like I'm making this video December 8th. Like we have not had one refund. So with the deliverables that we put in, the deliverables that we put in place, and like the course material as well as like the actual community itself, we haven't had a refund, right? So that's pretty good to a fulfillment standpoint. We have a lot of people getting wins in there as well. So that's super good win for the back end there. Now we're gonna get into like a breakdown of the actual funnel that we ran. So here's the ideal look right here. So we have like the headline, the offer, apply page, and then redirect to the pre-call page, have the setter's call, etc. So I just wanted to give you a breakdown of the call funnel that we ran for him, for our client. So this is what it looks like, right? So lead opts in their information through the lead capture and gets immediately redirected to the high ticket funnel. So our lead capture for the first like 2 weeks of the actual, or first 3 weeks, we changed it the last week of November to something else, and it's been way better for us. But essentially we had like a premium Discord opt-in where like they would opt in their information and get access to the course. So or not access to the course, access to the Discord. So yep, so we get their information and they get immediately redirected to the high ticket funnel. So when they put in their information, automation sends the material that they were looking for, and they also get added to like an email sequence. Now, just I added this last minute as well. So we make sure that we take advantage of every lead we get. So we have prospects in like a 2-week SMS and email cadence. So we're not going to stop contacting them until they book a call or opt out, right? Like if they don't do any of those two, we're going to continue, hammering them on the phones. But so essentially, once they put in their information, if they don't book under 5 minutes, the setter is going to call them, right? So if they don't book under 5 minutes, we have setters call them and take them through a setting process, okay? And essentially how we framed it, because it was like a Discord opt-in, we would frame it as like it's like we would frame it as like an onboarding call, right? Like a complimentary onboarding call, like somebody from the team just reaching out, kind of getting to know more about them. And then they would get a text from SendBlue, and we framed it as our client. So it would be like, hey Josh, it's client name. Looks like you just checked out my strategy, right? And so we have super high response rates from this because it's SendBlue first off. So it sends us a blue text message. So it makes it look like it's like their actual number. So imagine you're opting into something and like you have a lot of respect for that person, and then they're reaching out to you like off, it looks like their personal phone number, right? So we have a super high response rates from that, which is very good. Now, if they book in manually, then we have setters call them instantly to confirm, essentially triage them, make sure they're qualified. They get a text from SendBlue, And this one is framed as like the head of customer success confirming their call, which is a bit different from the actual opt-in itself, because again, like these people already booked in, so it's like a different angle, whereas somebody that just opted in and didn't really book a call in. So we do that send blue strategy just with the opt-in that didn't book, just because obviously like there might be some lower intent because like they didn't book in a call. So that's why the message vary there, just in terms of like what the prospect actually does. So essentially they're sent to the VSL after they opt in. And so we have the offer, and then we have the VSL here. So just based off what they're doing for work, their level of awareness, etc. We did a couple split tests, but we found this to perform the highest, so we just left it up there. So we have the VSL, and then we have a low friction application where it takes about like 30 seconds. So basically asks like how much trading experience do they have, how old are they, what's their biggest struggle with trading, you know, this is a one-on-one mentorship, describe why you'd be a good fit. And then we have some qualification questions in there. So if they have, you know, less than 1K to invest, then it sends them to another question regarding their credit score, like, hey, do you have you know, more than 650? If they don't, they get sent to they just get sent off the page, to be honest. And then if they do though, if they are qualified, then they have an option to book in a call. So we have different type of logic just to make sure that, you know, it helps the setters with actually qualifying the leads that do get on the calendar. So we have that. And then, so if they manually booked in, okay, so we have, again, like the setter calls them to confirm, qualifies them on the call. And then what they do is they're going to make a 3-way group chat between them, the prospect, and the closer off SendBlue. So we have that there. So on the call, we have the setter tell the prospect to introduce themselves into the group chat, you know, just to get acclimated, just to have more commitment, right? So we have them introduce themselves, and then we have the closer send a voice note, and then we have the setter send some pre-call material. So it's kind of like a welcome message, like after they introduce themselves. And then yeah, so once the closer sends a voice note and they respond to the actual voice note, like thumbs up, we have a setter send out a pre-made video of the client. So essentially it's like a video of the client saying like, you know, hey man, just heard that you booked in, like looking forward to the call with you know, XYZ. Just make sure you go through all that material, right? So just to give it a more personalized feel as well. And then something we also implemented just to, you know, give the prospect just more comfortable, again, more personalized feel. We have the DM setter text them from the IG as a client, and also just to also make it more personalized. So we have a whole, in our team chat, we have a channel called IG confirmations. And so essentially once the setter books a call, we have them drop their Instagram username in there, like the prospect's Instagram username, and then the DM setter, they reach out to them via Instagram, be like, hey man, like I'm super excited for like the call, like X, Y, and Z just told me you booked in, just make sure you show up and, you know, go through the material, something like that. So yeah, the goal is just to make it as personalized as possible to make sure that these guys show up, because we've had some issues with the show rate, which we're gonna, you know, get into shortly. But so same thing, if they booked in through outbound, closer makes a 3-way group chat, you know, essentially the same exact process there, whether they book manual or whether they do it through outbound. So here's the pre-call page itself, the videos that they're supposed to go through prior to the call. We make sure like they go through the videos, otherwise the call is going to be rescheduled, because this frames them a lot. So essentially what it looks like is it's a confirmation. Step number 1 is going to be a confirmation video explaining the next steps, and also why this unique mechanism is the best vehicle for them and why they should do this now. So essentially we have just explained next steps, and then also selling them on the actual vehicle itself, which is options trading. So we have them talking about it specifically, and we have them break down like why this is, like why they should do this now, like why this is urgent now, just to create more, you know, urgency in the prospect and get them more framed up for the sales call as well. And so step 2 is going to be, you know, explaining how to accept the calendar invite. So it shows on the email, again, just more commitment there. And then, so we have the frequently asked question page, like again, it's just a bunch of breakout videos. And so what this does is it gets them more framed, and it pre-handles any objections before the call, building more trust. The specific questions the client is answering is based off the most common objections our ICP has from the sales call transcript. So these questions that we have right here are from the buyer brain matrix, like I mentioned, where it's just, you know, the archetype of our actual ICP themselves, as well as the most common objections. So here's just some of the breakdown of the questions, like, are you guys legit? We have them show like, you know, the actual payment processor on how we've only had like 1 refund. How fast can I see results, right? What do I get inside of the actual program? Isn't trading just gambling, just, handling another concern? What if I don't have time? That's a super big one that we harp on here, just because, again, a lot of our ICP tends to be like blue collar workers, right? So we want to make sure that we pre-handle that objection. So I've tried other things. How's this different, right? Essentially, we're pre-handling like the scammed objection. What is options trading? What if I don't have experience? So just general questions prospects may have, but again, they're very tailored and they're very intentional just to pre-handle specific objections, like just to pre-handle the most common objections that we do get on the calls. And so then we have long form student interviews, just getting them more framed for the call. Watching 20-30 minute interviews of other students that were successful, and then just scroll of testimonials and social proof. So that's what the pre-call page looks like itself. And again, we make sure that they go through this before the call, because again, it just gets them more framed. And it also makes the closer's job easier as well, just because he doesn't have to answer, specific questions that were already mentioned on the FAQ page. So then we have, so this is just like a breakdown of our process. We have 6 value dense emails in a 48-hour period. We don't book out any further. We only book like 2 days out. So we have about 3 emails that are sent out a day, just based off case studies, handling specific objections. Then we have 3 reminder emails and then 4 reminder texts. We just implemented this a couple days ago, actually. Before it was sending on Go High Level, but there was just, I'm not going to get into it. It was just an issue with Go High Level. So we implemented this with Calendly just to, again, remind them of the time. So essentially, if they don't close, we're going to put them into a no close workflow. And essentially, it's just handling like fear-based concerns, because that's what we notice the number one issue is when someone doesn't close. It's usually, fear. And then if they no-show, so if they no-show the actual appointment itself, they get put into a text workflow on SendBlue where it's like, hey man, this is Eduardo, XYZ closer just told me that, you weren't able to show up to the call. What happened? Something along those lines. I'm not going to give you guys exactly what it says, but something along those lines. And then we have the DM setter reach out as well on IG to try to get them back on the board. And then we get them in a smart list just so the setters could dial up and get them back on the actual calendars as well. So we're making sure we maximize literally every single lead that we get. So I'm going to go over the main bottlenecks for us on the offer with helping it get to this point. So number one is we didn't take advantage of partial submissions, which shout out to one of the guys who's consulted me, one of my mentors when it comes to the actual operating space itself. We lost like a ton of money on like the partial submissions, which I'll get into like how we fixed, but the show rate wasn't ideal as well. We had, like I said, it was like a 58% show rate, which is not really that good, especially for like organic traffic. Again, it has improved since then. Like by the time I'm recording this, December 8th, it's definitely improved. And so we had no DM process first half of the month, so we just didn't really think about it till the second half of the month, and it has helped us big time. And I'm not talking about ManyChat, I'm talking about like a setter that is actually logged into his account, because I know some like an issue with ManyChat's like you can only contact people that are like 7 days old or just something along those lines. So we have the DM setter actually in the account itself. Another issue we had, which is not really an issue, we're something we got to do, improve on, was the offer pricing. So we made it a $3K price point, and we did this for various reasons. We just wanted to, first off, test different type of angles, as well as it was more based on like the feedback that we were seeing from like the other sales calls prior to us coming on. So we just wanted to test specific things like with the price point, but we're definitely going to raise the price. Like again, we already did. We're at 4,800 now, which is the price point. The close rate hasn't really dropped that much as well. So our AOV was an issue for us in November, obviously, because we didn't have a good price point. But now that we solved that, the close rate actually didn't decrease a big amount, which is good, because we probably lost out on a lot of money just by only charging 3K. But yeah, this is how we solve these issues. So we created a pipeline for the setters for leads who didn't book, as well as a text flow and a Discord notification. So for the partial submissions, because obviously it's from a type form, essentially we added that thing, like the partial submission thing, where it captures their information. And so once they put in their information but they don't book, then we have a whole bucket, like a smart list for setters to call those guys up, get them on board. We have a text flow that's sent out to them, and then we have a Discord notification as well. So as soon as that happens, the setter's on it. We added more urgency to the pre-call video. Just previously, again, it was just more of like, explaining next steps. But again, I spoke to one of my mentors that I'm doing consulting with, and we just added more urgency to the pre-call video just to make sure that like people are like feel a sense of need to actually like do something like this and then do it now. And this is regarding the actual the show rate itself. So that show rate, this is the partial submission thing right here. So we added more tie downs at the end of the call for the setting process. So we looked back at a couple things, and then I just remembered, some of the tie downs, because I used to have a pretty high show rate when I was setting at 7th level when I first started in the space. So we added more tie downs to the calls. We're training them on that just to make sure that, these people are actually going to show up and they have the actual intent to. And so we implemented SendBlue towards the last week of the month. It's helped it tremendously with the actual response rate as well as show rate, etc. So we implemented SendBlue. That has been good so far. And then we implemented the IG outreach to the client. And again, this all right here is for show rate. So again, when somebody books in, we just have the DM setter reach out from the client's account, being like, hey man, excited for you to possibly join the program, things like that. And then account book for more personalization. And then we increased the price point to $4,800. So we have two offers now. We have the 3K and then we have the 4,800. Now we're default pitching the 4,800 now, and it's going extremely well. And the close rate on the 4,800 is not much. Yeah, it's probably at about like 50%. We're 8 days into December, so it's been going pretty well for us, and we increased our AOV. So yeah, that was a big mistake we made, just charging too little. But again, this was our first month with the client, so we just wanted to make sure things were going to run smoothly, etc. And so the plans for the future with the actual offer itself. So we're going to get into, we actually have already this month, but we're getting into like retargeting to lookalike and engage accounts in the past 180 days, who engage with his account. So essentially like retargeting ads. And then we're going to be implementing monthly webinars as well. We're starting with an organic webinar just to get the hang of things for like his offers, his audience specifically, see what works, see what doesn't. And then we're going to be moving into paid monthly webinars. We're going to be doing the retargeting, paid monthly webinars, and then we're going to be retargeting the webinar attendees to like the actual call funnel itself. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing in the future now that we have like the call funnel is pretty down in. We increase the show rate, which is our main bottleneck. So yeah, that's kind of the next steps we're going to do, because we're trying to scale this offer to, like 300, 400, 500K per month, which is very, very doable. So that's kind of what the plan is there. All right, guys, so that's pretty much it for the case study. I hope you found some value from this, whether you're an operator or even an offer owner. So if this is something that you found interesting and you're an offer owner who wants help scaling their offer, just DM me on Instagram, and then we'll see how we can help you.